Welcome back to ADHD Whiskey. My name is Matt. Today, I'm talking about the top whiskeys, bourbons and ryes in 2024 so far. It's weird because it's September, and to shoot a video like this so late in the year seems really dumb. But if you think about it, you're the one that's dumb for thinking that. September is basically the all-star break for bourbon hunting. Right about this time of year, the market is flooded with limited editions and allocated releases that people like you and me go absolutely crazy for. So the year is basically split into two categories as far as I'm concerned. Pre-allocation season and allocation season. So this list is by no means my final lists for whiskeys of the year, but I do want to show you some bottles that I've acquired throughout 2024 that I feel deserve a little bit of a pat on the back, little bit of a slap on the ass. Good job, bottle. Now remember, when I make videos like these, my whiskeys of the year, best of this, best of that, these type of videos do not include bottles that I was unable to acquire. So although I do believe that Jack Daniel's 10-year and Jack Daniel's Coy Hill Barrel House 8 deserve a spot on this list, like other bottles that are hard to get, I didn't get my hands on one. These are only bottles that I was able to acquire, which I think is fair, because if I can't get them, then I'm sure you can't get them, Cody. Unless, of course, you're doing favors that are shameful. Shameful favors. Honorable mention, High West Cask collaboration. This is 100 proof and finished in Cabernet Sauvignon barrels. This was a Grand Valley barrel select here in Colorado, but I think that if you find a Cabernet Sauvignon finished High West Cask collection for the price, I absolutely love this bottle. I love it. I love it. Now for a couple bottles that may have not been released in 2024, but that's when I acquired them, and they're pretty recent, so I think that they deserve to make this list even if they weren't released this calendar year. Harden Creek 211 month is a friggin' banger of a bourbon. It's a monster. It's 109 proof, 211 month old Jim Beam distillate. It's got a sweet heavy stopper being held up by this awesome leather brazier. Let's see if I still got it. One-handed. Oh, yeah. America. I'm not sure how old 211 months is off the top of my head. I did the math in the review, but let me think. It's old. It's friggin' old. Like 17 years or something. I don't know, I could be wrong. I'm not a human calculator. But it's old, it's bold, and I believe it's one of the best pours that I've acquired this year. Harden Creek 211 month, Jacob's Well. And we'll walk down the river, cause the river don't run, down to Rebecca Creek. Like Harden's Creek, Rebecca Creek 12-year also has creek in the name. This river's origin is in Indiana, as it says 12-year MGP distillate, 99.68 proof. It's cask strength, and it is loaded with flavor. Where is this Rebecca Creek empty? Into my mouth, into the Atlantic Ocean. Now for a couple 95.5 ryes. First of all, Bullet 12-year. Friggin' phenomenal. I still need to shoot my review for this bottle, but I'm glad I waited because the flavor profile on this upon first opening and the flavor profile now, a couple months later, seemingly is wildly different, but still super damn good. If you're a fan of aged rye whiskey and you're not a proof snob, Bullet 12-year at 92 proof is a must for your bar or your house or wherever you keep your whiskey, like a garage. And then Raconteur Rye, batch number 2. It's finished in Mizunara Oak. The name of this batch is Brazen, which makes a lot of sense because brazen rhymes with raisin. And this is one raisiny, delicious 95.5 Indiana bourbon bomb. And by bourbon, I mean rye. 7 years, barrel proof, 61.36% alcohol. I just recently acquired this, poured an ounce into a glass, and was like, wow, that rye whiskey's first class. Not like international first class, but more like domestic first class. Really damn good, but it doesn't come with its own bed and shower. Then we got the Bourbon Lore Ben Holiday pick. Is this whiskey of the year stuff, is this gonna make my top 5 for 2024? I don't think it's gonna be top 5, but it could definitely sneak its way into the top 10. This is what I call a saloon pour, a deep, dark, old Western style bourbon. The Ben Holiday Bourbon Lore bottle, super damn good. Now moving on to a whiskey that didn't necessarily blow my mind in a blind, but when I taste it by itself, I love it. Do I wish it was a little bit cheaper? Yes. Do I wish it was a little bit more available like they said it would be? Yes. Am I happy that it exists? And do I want another bottle? Yes. That's Old Forester 1924. This bottle has gotten mixed reviews. Some people love it, some people hate it. A lot of people just love to hate it or hate to love it. But at 10 years old and 100 proof, Old Forester 1924 fills a spot in the Old Forester line that was desperately needed. An age-stated 100 proof expression of what Brown-Forman Old Forester style tastes like when it's a decade old. Then we have Jack Daniel's 12-year batch number 2. Is batch number 2 as good as batch number 1? Not as far as I'm concerned. I did a head-to-head blind flight. I'll put that video right there. But does it still deserve recognition as one of the best whiskeys in 2024? Absolutely. I do want to get my hands on the 10-year batch number 3 because I believe that the 10-year this year is better than the 12-year. I think I must revisit that experiment. So hopefully I can get my hands on a bottle of the 10-year, but the 12-year definitely holds up to any of the best bourbons and best American whiskeys that have been released this year. Then we have this, a little surprise from New Riff. This is their 8-year bourbon offering at 100 proof. They also have an 8-year rye, which I have not tried, but I do want to grab a bottle of that as well because the bourbon surprised me a lot. 65 corn, 30% rye, 5% malted barley. There's actually a bit of a dusty note that I find in this New Riff, which is strange because it's New Riff and not Old Dusty Riff. Still need to shoot a full review for this bottle and give it its fair score, but the 8-year New Riff is all I hoped it would be and more. Then a bit of a surprise bottle, Boulder Cask Strength 2024. This almost is not fair to put on the list because their batch size this year was less than 2,000 bottles, but when it became available on their website, I immediately bought one, and when I tasted it, I immediately bought another. It's 128.4 proof, minimum age of this bourbon, 7 years, 4 months. It's a 15-barrel blend, aged in number 3 charred white American oak, and has a very unique mash bill, 51 corn, 44 malted barley, and 5% rye. If that math adds up. Hopefully Boulder Spirits continues to distill their bourbon mash bill and doesn't focus solely on American single malt, because their bourbon, although slightly different than the traditional Kentucky mash bills, when aged in Colorado, this stuff turns out amazing. Just a ridiculous pour. Boulder Cask Strength will be in the top 10, I would imagine, in 2024. Unless, of course, I get my hands on some really cool shit. Like, really cool shit. And then last, but certainly not least, this is the bottle that everybody saw coming, Russell's Reserve 15. This so far is my bourbon of the year, my whiskey of the year. Do I foresee any bourbons this year that'll dethrone Russell's 15 from the top spot? Possibly. It's allocation season, and only God himself and Fred Minnick know what the bourbon industry has in store for the American consumer in fall 2024. Do I think that I will get my hands on a bottle that will defeat this, that will beat this? Probably not, because when it comes to the absolute best allocated bourbons that come available in the fall, I live in a part of the country where they're very hard to come by. Western Colorado, not exactly the mecca of bourbon. But there is always a possibility that I will acquire a bottle that could possibly put up a fight with Russell's Reserve 15. And what a fight that would be. Can you imagine in the bourbon skirmish ring of ADHD whiskey, Russell's 15 walking out to its favorite song and then in the ring a competitor, same age, same proof, maybe a little bit longer reach, and they just go head to head at the end of the year. Is that possible? I hope so. Down in the comments below, let me know, what did I miss? What are some bottles that you were able to acquire this year that belong in this list? On this list. That's gonna do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Matt. This is ADHD Whiskey. Like I always say, keep your head in the clouds, but your mind on getting things done that need to be done, so that you don't have to stress about them anymore and you're able to live your life without all that weight on your shoulders. If it sounds like I'm talking to you, it's probably true, but I'm not. I'm talking to me. With that being said, I'm gonna go get some things done. I hope. Goodbye. Love you all.